Commander Zaylan stood on the bridge of his warship and watched another planet die. The screen showed fires spreading across the surface below. The Krell were down there, consuming everything. Buildings fell. Cities burned. Millions of voices went silent forever. This was the 53rd world to fall in 2 years. Zaylan had stopped counting the dead after the first billion. The numbers were too big to understand anymore. Every week brought new refugees, new orphans, new stories of loss that made his heart ache. The Galactic Council had ruled space for 10,000 years. 47 different species worked together in peace. They had built great cities among the stars. They had ended wars and brought justice to the galaxy. But none of that mattered now. The Krell were winning. Zaylan remembered the first reports about the Krell. They had come from dark space without warning. Nobody knew where they came from or what they wanted. The answer became clear very quickly. They wanted to consume everything. They were like insects, but bigger and smarter. They thought with one mind spread across billions of bodies. When you killed 1,000 Krell, 1,000,000 more came to take their place. The Council's greatest generals had tried everything. They built bigger weapons. They trained better soldiers. They formed new battle plans every week. Nothing worked. The Krell adapted to every strategy. They learned from every defeat. They just kept coming like a wave that never stopped. Zaylan's crew worked quietly around him. His tactical officer Kira sat at her station with 3 eyes focused on the screens. She was young and still believed they could win. Zaylan hoped she was right, but he had stopped believing months ago. His ship, the Infinite Dawn, was one of the Council's best. It had won dozens of battles before the Krell came. Now it barely survived each fight. Half his crew was new. The veterans were all dead or broken. Kira suddenly sat up straight. Her scales changed color the way they did when she was confused. "Commander, we are getting a transmission. It is on an old frequency that nobody uses anymore." Zaylan felt tired. He was always tired these days. "Where is it coming from?" "The empty quadrant, sir. The place where nothing lives." The empty quadrant was a region of space that the Council had surveyed hundreds of years ago. The scans showed empty systems and dead worlds. Nobody went there because there was nothing to find. But Zaylan knew the old legends. The empty quadrant was where Earth was supposed to be. Earth, the death world, the home of humans. Every child in the galaxy grew up hearing stories about humans. They were supposed to come from a world so dangerous that it made warriors unlike any others. A world with crushing gravity and violent weather. A world where everything tried to kill you and only the strong survived. But humans were just stories. They were myths told to children at bedtime. In all his years of service, Zaylan had never seen any proof they were real. The coordinates to Earth showed nothing but empty space. "Play the transmission," Zaylan ordered. The screen changed and a figure appeared. It stood on 2 legs like many species did. It had 2 eyes and 2 arms. Its skin was pale and it had hair on its head. The creature wore a dark uniform with symbols Zaylan did not recognize. "This is Captain Daniel Hayes of the United Earth Navy," the figure said. Its voice was calm and strong. "I command the vessel Liberty's Call. We have been watching your war with the Krell Dominion. Humanity wants to help. We are sending you coordinates. We will be waiting for you there." The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Everyone stared at the screen where the human had been. Finally, someone spoke. "Sir, should we tell the Council about this?" Zaylan looked at the coordinates now showing on his display. They pointed to a location in the empty quadrant. His mind raced with questions. Were humans real? If they were real, why had they hidden for so long? Could they really help against the Krell? "Yes, inform the Council," Zaylan said slowly. "And prepare the ship. We are going to those coordinates. I want to see if humans are real or if this is some kind of trick." 3 days later, Zaylan's small fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the coordinates. What he saw made him freeze in shock. The coordinates led to a star system. The third planet from the sun was blue and green and white. It looked beautiful. But that was not what shocked him. What shocked him was everything around the planet. Huge stations orbited the world. They were covered with weapons. Shipyards stretched for miles, building new vessels. Thousands of warships surrounded Earth like guards protecting something precious. Every ship had the same symbol that Captain Hayes had worn. "By the gods," Kira whispered. "They have been here the whole time. How did we never see them?" Zaylan's science officer checked his instruments. "Their stealth technology is incredible, sir. They could hide an entire civilization from our best sensors. A new transmission came through. Captain Hayes appeared again. He looked older than Zaylen expected. His hair was gray at the sides. Lines marked his face, showing he had seen much in his life. "Welcome to Earth, Commander Zaylen. I am honored that you came. May I come to your ship? We have much to discuss." An hour later, Zaylen met Daniel Hayes in person. The human moved with grace and control. He was not aggressive, but he was not weak either. Two others came with him. Admiral Lisa Grant was a woman with sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. Dr. Peter Collins was a scientist who looked nervous and excited. "You are real," Zaylen said. He could not hide his amazement. "The legends are true." Daniel smiled, showing his teeth. Zaylen had learned this meant the human was pleased. "The legends probably say we are bigger than we really are. But yes, we are real. We have been watching the galaxy for a long time, listening and learning, but we chose to stay hidden. Why?" Zaylen felt anger rise in him. "The Council needed help. Your technology is clearly advanced. We have been dying while you watched." Admiral Grant leaned forward. "Because we learned from our own mistakes. Humanity almost destroyed itself before we learned to work together. We had to be sure the galaxy was ready for us, and we had to be sure we were ready for the galaxy." Dr. Collins activated a display. Images appeared showing Krell battles. "We have been studying the Krell for 18 months. We have watched every fight. Commander, your people are fighting them the wrong way." Zaylen felt his pride hurt, but he pushed the feeling down. "Explain." "The Krell are a hive mind," Collins said. "One consciousness spread across billions of bodies. Your tactics assume each enemy makes its own decisions. But the Krell do not work that way. You need to disrupt their connection to each other." Daniel showed more displays. "We have built weapons designed to attack their mental network. Special electromagnetic pulses that can cut their hive connection temporarily. This creates chaos, but we need your help. We need to know where the Krell are and how they move. And we need the Council to officially accept our help." Zaylen studied the humans carefully. Everything about them seemed honest. But questions filled his mind. "Why reveal yourselves now? Why not stay hidden and safe?" Daniel's face became serious. "Because it is the right thing to do. We have watched species die. We have seen worlds burn. My daughter asks me every day why we are not helping. I will not let humanity be remembered as the species that hid while others suffered and died." Admiral Grant added, "And if the Krell destroy the Council, Earth will eventually stand alone against them. Better to fight together now than face them alone later." Zaylen felt something he had not felt in months. It was hope. Dangerous, fragile hope. "I need to bring you before the Council. They will have many questions." "We expected nothing less," Daniel said. He held out his hand. Zaylen knew this was a human gesture of agreement. He touched the hand carefully. "One more thing," Zaylen said. "The legends say humans are the greatest warriors. That you come from a death world that makes you strong. Is that true?" Daniel looked at Admiral Grant before answering. "Earth made us tough. But what makes humans dangerous in war is not our strength or our anger. It is our refusal to give up. We do not surrender. We do not quit. And we protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Krell are about to learn that lesson." The Council Chamber on Sanctum was the most important place in the galaxy. It was a massive sphere where representatives from 47 different species gathered to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. Zaylen had been here many times, but today felt different. Today he was bringing humans to meet the Council. The moment the human delegation entered the chamber, chaos erupted. Some species gasped in shock. Others made sounds of fear. A few activated their personal shields, thinking they were under attack. High Counselor Nera was a being made of living crystal. Her voice rang through the chamber like bells. "Silence. We will hear what these visitors have to say." Daniel Hayes walked to the center platform with Admiral Lisa Grant, Dr. Peter Collins, and Admiral Kevin Turner. Kevin was the highest-ranking officer in Earth's military. He was a big man with broad shoulders and a uniform covered in medals from wars the Council knew nothing about. "Members of the Galactic Council," Kevin began. His voice was strong and clear. "I am Admiral Kevin Turner of the United Earth Navy. Humanity asks to join the Galactic Council. We want to help you fight the Krell Dominion." Counselor Thex was a reptile species known for being fierce warriors. He leaned forward with suspicion in his eyes. "You claim to be human? A species we thought was only legend. Prove you come from the death world." Dr. Collins stepped forward. "Earth's gravity is stronger than most Council worlds. Our air has more oxygen, which is toxic to some species here. We evolved with giant predators. We survived ice ages and plagues. Our history includes thousands of years of war before we learned to work together as one people. He showed data and images. These are human body specifications. We heal faster than most species. We have backup organs. We can run and fight longer than galactic normal, but our real strength is our technology and our ability to adapt quickly. Counselor Vren lived in a water tank that let him move on land. He spoke next. Your stealth technology is good, but stealth does not win wars. The Krell have crushed our combined fleets. What makes you think you can do better? Admiral Lisa Grant answered. Because we spent 18 months studying them while you fought them. You have been reacting to their attacks. We are ready to take the fight to them. She showed a map of Krell space. The Krell hive mind works through queen nodes. Your forces treat each swarm as separate. That is why when you destroy one fleet, 2 more appear. The queens just move forces from other areas, Daniel continued. We found where the primary queen lives. She is deep in Krell space. She is the center of the entire hive mind. If we strike her, their whole command structure will collapse. Counselor Nera's light pulsed as she thought. A bold plan. Perhaps suicidal. The Krell's inner territory has never been breached. We have lost entire fleets trying to go that deep. You lost fleets because you fought them in conventional ways, Kevin said bluntly. We are not proposing a normal assault. We are proposing a surgical strike using human stealth technology and special weapons designed to disrupt the hive mind. The chamber buzzed with debate. Species argued with each other in dozens of languages. Finally, Counselor Thex spoke again. Even if your plan might work, how do we know we can trust you? You hid from the galaxy for centuries. What promise do we have that you will not abandon us when the fighting gets hard? Daniel stepped forward. You have my word as a human, but I understand that is not enough. So let me show you proof. He activated a device and images appeared. 3 days ago, we detected a Krell assault fleet heading toward the refugee colony on Velnara Prime. Your forces were too far away to help. We sent our ships. The screen showed a battle. Human warships fought against a Krell swarm 10 times their size. The humans moved with precision and deadly purpose. Their weapons cut through Krell bioships while they dodged enemy fire with incredible skill. We saved Velnara Prime, Daniel said quietly. 4 million refugees, mostly children and elderly from 17 different species. We lost 2 ships and 300 people doing it. We did not ask permission. We did not wait for approval. We did it because it was the right thing to do. The chamber fell completely silent. Every being there processed what they had just heard. Finally, High Counselor Nera spoke. The Council will discuss this in private. But Admiral Turner, Captain Hayes understand this clearly. If we accept your help, humanity will be joining a war that has already killed billions. Are your people truly ready for that? Kevin met her crystalline gaze without fear. Counselor, humanity has been preparing for this moment our entire existence. We are ready. The vote took 6 hours. During that time, Zaylan walked with Daniel through the gardens of Sanctum. The human seemed calm, but Zaylan could sense tension beneath the surface. Are you worried? Zaylan asked. Always, Daniel admitted. But worry keeps you sharp. My father used to say that if you are not worried before a battle, you are either stupid or already dead. Zaylan's mandibles clicked in amusement. Your father was wise, he was. He fought in the last war on Earth, the one that finally brought all humans together. He saw terrible things. Lost friends. But he told me something I never forgot. He said that the worst thing is not fighting and losing. The worst thing is having the power to help and choosing to do nothing. They walked in silence for a while. Then Daniel spoke again. Can I ask you something, Commander? Do you think we have a real chance of winning? Zaylan thought carefully before answering. Before I met you, I thought we had no chance at all. I was preparing to die. We all were. But now, for the first time in a very long time, I think we might survive this. Your people give me hope. Hope is powerful, Daniel said. It is what kept humanity going through our darkest times. Hope that tomorrow might be better. Hope that our sacrifices mean something. When they returned to the council chamber, High Counselor Nera announced the decision. The council has voted. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Full military cooperation is authorized. Welcome, humans. Welcome to the fight. The chamber erupted in cheers. Species that had been rivals for centuries stood together and celebrated. For the first time since the war began, there was real hope. But not everyone was happy. Counselor Thex approached the humans after the ceremony. His eyes were hard. "I voted against you," he said bluntly. "Not because I doubt your ability, but because I have seen too many promising plans fail. Too many good soldiers die." Kevin nodded with respect. "I understand your concern, Counselor. All I can say is watch what we do, not what we say. Judge us by our actions." Thex studied the human for a long moment. Then he did something surprising. He bowed his head slightly. "Very well. Prove me wrong, Admiral. I hope you do." Over the next week, preparations began for the joint operation. Human ships arrived at the Council's forward bases. Their vessels were different from anything the Council used. Sleek and dangerous looking, every line suggested speed and deadly purpose. Zaylen toured one of the human carriers with Daniel. The ship was called Eagle, and it carried small fighter craft. Hundreds of them. The pilots were young men and women who seemed excited rather than afraid. One pilot named Amy Rodriguez showed Zaylen her fighter. It was tiny compared to Council fighters. It seemed fragile. "Does this not scare you?" Zaylen asked. "Flying in something so small against the Krell?" Amy grinned. "Sure, it is scary. But we train for scary. Besides, small means fast, and fast means alive. The Krell will not even see us coming." That evening, Zaylen joined the human commanders for what they called a strategy session. The room was filled with officers studying maps and arguing about tactics. What struck Zaylen was how informal they were. Lower-ranked officers challenged their superiors openly. Everyone contributed ideas. "This is how you make decisions?" Zaylen asked Admiral Turner. "It seems chaotic," Kevin laughed. "It probably looks that way. But good ideas can come from anywhere. Private Rodriguez might see something that I miss. We encourage everyone to speak up. In battle, rigid thinking gets you killed." Admiral Lisa Grant spread out a star map. "This is our target. The primary Queen's Hive. It is in a binary star system deep in Krell space. Getting there will be the easy part. Getting close enough to deploy the weapon will be hard. And getting out will be nearly impossible," Daniel added, "which is why the strike team needs to be small and fast. Big fleets will be detected immediately." Dr. Collins showed them the weapon they would use. It looked like a simple missile, but Collins explained it was much more. The Nova weapon will send out a pulse that disrupts neural connections across a huge area. For the Krell, who share one mind, this will be catastrophic. The hive mind will collapse, and if it does not work, Zaylen asked. "Then we use conventional explosives," Kevin said grimly. "Enough to vaporize the entire hive. The Queen will die either way, but the Nova weapon gives us the best chance of ending the war completely." Zaylen looked at the faces around the table. These humans knew they were planning a suicide mission. Many of them would not come back, but none of them suggested abandoning the plan. None of them asked to be excused from the mission. "I do not understand," Zaylen said quietly. "You could find another way, a safer way." "Why choose this?" Daniel met his eyes. "Because this war ends one of two ways. Either the Krell win and everyone dies slowly, or we take this risk and maybe everyone lives. That is not really a choice at all." The morning of Operation Broken Crown arrived with quiet tension. Zaylen stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiant next to Admiral Kevin Turner. Through the view screen, he could see the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Over 300 warships from 17 different species, all prepared to fight together. The plan was simple in concept but terrifying in execution. The main fleet would attack the Krell border forces, drawing their attention and pulling their reserves forward. While the Krell focused on this massive battle, a small strike group led by Captain Daniel Hayes would slip through enemy lines using stealth technology. They would penetrate deep into Krell space and destroy the primary Queen. Simple, and probably impossible. Captain Nicole Bennett commanded the Shadowrunner, the most advanced stealth ship humanity had ever built. Her job was to lead the strike group through Krell territory without being detected. She was only 28 years old but had proven herself repeatedly in simulations. Today would be her first real combat mission. Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of Liberty's Call with his crew. His tactical officer was a man named Ryan Cooper, a veteran of Earth's border conflicts. His chief engineer was a woman named Sarah Mitchell, who could keep a ship running with nothing but spare parts and determination. They had trained together for months preparing for this moment. "All ships report ready," Kevin announced from the Defiant. "Strike group, you are clear to begin your approach. Main fleet will commence attack in 10 minutes. "Understood," Daniel replied. Shadowrunner, take point. Liberty's call and escort ships will follow your lead. Nicole's voice came through calm and confident. Shadowrunner acknowledging. Engaging stealth systems now. See you on the other side, everyone. The strike group consisted of 5 ships total. Shadowrunner led the way. Liberty's call followed with the destroyers Relentless and Guardian. The carrier Falcon brought up the rear, carrying fighters that might be needed for escape. 5,300 people betting their lives on stealth technology and luck. As the strike group slipped away toward Krell space, the main fleet moved into position. Zaylen watched the tactical display as hundreds of ships formed attack formations, council vessels mixed with human warships in carefully coordinated patterns. All ships, this is Admiral Turner. Kevin's voice broadcast across the fleet. Today we fight not as separate species but as one united force. The Krell have taken much from us. Today we start taking it back. All ships advanced, the fleet jumped to faster than light speed. When they emerged at the Krell border, enemy forces were already waiting. The Krell must have detected the fleet's approach. 3 massive swarms of bioships hung in space like dark clouds. Enemy contact, the tactical officer reported. Estimated strength, 12,000 vessels. Zaylen felt his heart sink. 12,000 against 300. The odds were terrible even with human help. But Kevin seemed unconcerned. All fighters launch. Cruisers form defensive screen. Carriers deploy your birds. Let us show them what united forces can do. What happened next changed everything Zaylen thought he knew about warfare. Human fighters poured from their carriers like angry insects. But unlike insects, they moved with deadly precision. Each pilot flew in perfect coordination with their wingmates. They swept through Krell formations, cutting bioships apart with laser fire and missiles. Council ships followed up, their heavier weapons targeting Krell command nodes. The human warships did something Zaylen had never seen before. They shared targeting data in real time. If one ship identified a weak point, every nearby ship immediately exploited it. The Krell adapted quickly, but the humans adapted faster. A Krell boarding party tried to attach to a council cruiser. Before they could breach the hull, human marines from a nearby ship launched across the gap in armored suits. They hit the Krell boarders like hammers, driving them off in under 2 minutes. "Commander, look at this," Kira said from her station. She displayed data showing Krell communication patterns. They are pulling reinforcements from deep in their territory. Hundreds of ships are moving toward this battle. Good, Kevin said. That means the strike group has a clearer path. All ships intensify the attack. Make them commit everything to this fight. For 6 hours the battle raged. Ships on both sides burned and died. Zaylen watched good soldiers sacrifice themselves to protect their comrades. He saw acts of courage from species that had never fought together before. A Vorian captain rammed his damaged ship into a Krell Queen ship, destroying both. A human pilot with engine failure used his fighter as a missile, saving a council transport full of refugees. Meanwhile, the strike group slipped deeper into enemy territory. Nicole piloted Shadowrunner through Krell patrol routes with surgical precision. She had studied Krell patrol patterns for months and knew exactly where the gaps were. "Contact ahead," her sensor officer warned. "Krell patrol 3 ships. Hold course," Nicole ordered. "Maintain stealth. They will not see us." The Krell ships passed within a few kilometers. Their sensors swept the area but found nothing. Shadowrunner's stealth systems were too advanced. The strike group continued forward. Behind them on Shadowrunner's bridge, Daniel watched the sensor displays. "How long until we reach the target system?" "At current speed, 4 days," Nicole replied. "Assuming we maintain stealth and do not run into anything unexpected. 4 days of flying through enemy territory. 4 days where a single mistake would mean death for everyone." Daniel thought about his daughter back on Earth. She had asked him why he had to go. He told her that some things were more important than staying safe. He hoped she would understand if he did not come back. The main battle at the border continued. The Krell threw wave after wave at the Allied fleet. But the fleet held. Human and Council forces worked together like they had trained together for years instead of weeks. Zaylen found himself working alongside human officers as if it was the most natural thing in the world. When a crisis emerged, they solved it together. When difficult choices had to be made, they made them together. "We are losing Cruiser Adamant," a report came in. "Krell have breached their hull. Destroyer Courage, move to assist," Kevin ordered. "Medical ships, prepare to receive casualties." A human pilot named Jake Morrison volunteered to fly into the breach and drop emergency sealant charges. It was incredibly dangerous. Krell soldiers were inside that breach, but Jake went anyway. He sealed the breach and bought time for the crew to evacuate. He died when a Krell warrior tore through his cockpit, but he saved 300 lives. After 12 hours of continuous fighting, the Krell began to pull back. They had lost over half their forces. The Allied fleet had lost 83 ships, but they had won the battle. More importantly, they had proven that united they were stronger than the Krell. All ships stand down from combat alert, Kevin ordered. Damage control teams begin repairs. Medical personnel attend to the wounded. Zaylan slumped in his chair, exhausted. Around him, the bridge crew was equally drained. They had been fighting for half a day straight. But they were alive and they had won. Commander Zaylan, Kevin said quietly. Your people fought well today. You should be proud. Your people fought better, Zaylan replied honestly. I have never seen such coordination. Such discipline under fire. Kevin shook his head. We fought together. That is what made the difference. The Krell think with one mind, but they do not understand cooperation. They only know domination. We showed them today that free people working together are stronger than slaves working for a single master. Meanwhile, the strike group was now deep in Krell space. They had been traveling for 3 days without incident, but everyone knew the hardest part was still ahead. Nicole called the other ship captains for a conference. We are 12 hours from the target system. This is where it gets really dangerous. The primary Queen's hive will be heavily defended. Our stealth will not work once we start shooting. Daniel studied the sensor data. The hive is orbiting a binary star. The radiation should mask our approach until we are close. Once we start the attack, we need to move fast. Get in, deploy the weapon, get out. And if we cannot get out? Asked the captain of Relentless. Then we make sure the weapon deploys anyway, Daniel said simply. This mission succeeds even if we do not survive it. The other captains nodded. They had all accepted this possibility when they volunteered. Death was preferable to failure. Too many people were counting on them. On the 4th day, they reached the target system. What they saw through their sensors made even experienced warriors feel fear. The hive was enormous, larger than a small moon. It pulsed with organic energy. And surrounding it were thousands upon thousands of Krell bioships. Well, Nicole said quietly, I guess they are expecting company. Daniel took a deep breath. All ships prepare for combat. This is what we came here to do. For everyone counting on us, we do not fail today. Shadowrunner ready? Nicole reported. Liberty's call ready. Daniel confirmed. Relentless ready, came another voice. Guardian ready. Falcon ready and launching all fighters. Daniel looked at his crew. Ryan met his eyes and nodded. Sarah gave him a thumbs up from engineering. They were scared, but they were ready. All ships, Daniel ordered. Attack! The 5 ships dropped their stealth and charged toward the hive. Behind them. The moment Shadowrunner and her escort ships dropped their stealth, every Krell bioship in the system turned toward them. It was like kicking a nest of hornets. Thousands of organic vessels began moving to intercept the tiny human force. Nicole pushed Shadowrunner to maximum speed, weaving through the first wave of Krell ships. Her hands flew over the controls as she dodged weapons fire and debris. This is going to be close. Behind her, Liberty's Call and the other ships formed a defensive formation. Their weapons blazed, carving paths through the Krell swarms. Daniel watched his tactical display as red enemy markers filled the screen. There were so many it looked like a solid red cloud. Target the command nodes, Daniel ordered. We need to create confusion in their ranks. Ryan identified priority targets and fed the data to all Allied ships. Missiles and laser fire concentrated on the larger Krell vessels that seemed to be coordinating the swarm. When these ships died, the surrounding Krell hesitated for precious seconds before new commanders took over. The carrier Falcon launched her entire fighter wing. 60 small craft piloted by men and women who knew they probably would not survive this battle. But they flew anyway, straight into the heart of the enemy formation. Amy Rodriguez was among them. She had joked with Zaylan just days ago about being fast. Now she proved it. Her fighter twisted and spun through enemy fire, her weapons taking down Krell bioships one after another. Her wingmate Jake Morrison, the pilot who had died at the border battle, would have been proud. Shadowrunner to strike group, Nicole called out. I am picking up massive energy readings from the hive. I think the Queen knows we are here. Of course she knows, Daniel said grimly. She can probably feel us through every Krell in this system. Keep pushing forward. We need to get within deployment range. The destroyer Relentless suddenly shuddered as multiple Krell ships latched onto her hull. Boarding parties began cutting through her armor. The captain's voice came over the comm. We are being boarded. I am reading hundreds of Krell inside our ship. Hold on, Relentless, Daniel said. Guardian, move to assist. But Guardian was fighting her own battle against a swarm of biofighters. She could not break free. Daniel made a decision. Liberty's call to Relentless. We are coming to you. Hold your position. Liberty's call broke formation and charged toward the embattled destroyer. Sarah Mitchell and engineering pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The ship shook and groaned but held together. They reached Relentless and Daniel did something crazy. He rammed Liberty's call against the destroyer, linking the two ships together. Prepare for boarding action, Daniel ordered. Marines, get over to Relentless and clear those Krell out. Human Marines in armored suits jumped from one ship to another. They carried heavy weapons designed specifically for fighting Krell in close quarters. The sound of fighting echoed through both ships as humans and Krell battled in cramped corridors. Meanwhile, Shadowrunner was getting close to the hive. Nicole could see it now through her view screen. It was grotesque and beautiful at the same time. Massive and pulsing with life, and absolutely covered with defensive weapons. I have a clear approach vector, Nicole reported, but I am taking heavy fire. Shields at 40% and dropping. Guardian, provide covering fire for Shadowrunner, came a new voice. It was Admiral Kevin Turner from the Defiant, still at the border battle. He had been monitoring the strike group's progress. The entire fleet is counting on you. Get that weapon deployed. Nicole gritted her teeth and pushed forward. Her ship took hit after hit. Alarms blared. Systems failed. But she kept flying. Just a little further, she whispered. A massive Krell bioship moved to intercept. It was 3 times Shadowrunner's size and bristling with weapons. Nicole knew her ship could not survive a direct engagement. But then the carrier Falcon swept in from the side, her remaining fighters swarming the Krell vessel. Go, Shadowrunner, the Falcon's captain shouted. We will handle this one. Falcon's sacrifice bought Nicole the time she needed. She reached the deployment point, barely a kilometer from the hive's surface. Deployment range achieved. Loading the Nova weapon now. Back on Liberty's call, Daniel and his Marines were pushing the Krell boarders back. The fighting was brutal. Krell warriors were strong and fast, but human determination was stronger. Inch by inch, they cleared the corridors. Ryan's voice came through Daniel's helmet comm. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Shadowrunner. The weapon is ready to deploy, but her ship is dead in space. She has taken critical damage. Daniel felt his heart sink. Can she launch? Negative. Launch systems are offline. She would need at least an hour for repairs. An hour they did not have. Already more Krell ships were converging on Shadowrunner's position. In minutes she would be overwhelmed and destroyed. This is Shadowrunner. Nicole's voice came through, strained but steady. I am going to deploy the weapon manually. It requires someone to actually fly it to the hive's core. Negative, Shadowrunner. Kevin's voice cut in. There is no way to survive that. Find another option. There is no other option, sir, Nicole said calmly. This is why I joined the Navy, to make a difference. To protect people. Today I get to do both. Daniel felt rage and helplessness war inside him. Nicole was just a kid, 28 years old. Her whole life ahead of her, but he knew that tone in her voice. She had made her decision. Nicole, Daniel said quietly, it has been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine, Captain, Nicole replied. Tell my family I was thinking about them, and tell them it was worth it. Shadowrunner's emergency thrusters fired. The damaged ship limped toward the hive with the Nova weapon loaded in her cargo bay. Krell weapons fire tore into her, but she kept going. Nicole's crew had already evacuated in escape pods. Only she remained on the bridge, guiding her ship on its final mission. All ships fall back, Daniel ordered. Get clear of the blast radius. Shadowrunner is going in. The Allied ships began pulling back, fighting a running battle against pursuing Krell forces. Amy Rodriguez and the surviving fighters formed a protective screen, buying time for the larger ships to escape. Nicole reached the hive's outer shell and punched through it. Her ship tore through organic matter and support structures. Alarms screamed. The ship was falling apart around her. But she was almost there. Almost to the core where the primary queen lived. This is Shadowrunner, she transmitted. I can see her. The Queen. She is massive. And she is beautiful in a terrible way. Deploying weapon now. The Nova device activated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse of energy exploded outward from the hive's core. It was not visible to the eye, but every sensor in the system detected it. A wave of disruption that spread through the Krell neural network like ripples on water. On the Defiant, watching from the border battle, Kevin and Zaylen saw the effect immediately. Every Krell ship in the system suddenly went dark. Their movements became uncoordinated. Some crashed into each other. Others just drifted dead in space. It worked, Zaylen whispered in amazement. The hive mind is collapsing. The effect spread beyond the target system. Krell forces across the entire front suddenly lost cohesion. Ships that had been pressing attacks moments before now floated aimlessly. The single consciousness that had guided billions of Krell warriors was fragmenting, breaking apart. Back at the hive, the surviving strike group ships watched as the massive structure began to tear itself apart. Without the Queen's control, the Krell inside were dying. The hive was collapsing. Shadowrunner, do you copy? Daniel called out, knowing it was futile but needing to try. Only Static answered. Nicole Bennett had completed her mission. And she had paid the ultimate price. Daniel felt tears on his face, but he wiped them away. There would be time to mourn later. All ships begin withdrawal. We need to get back to Allied lines. The journey back was long and tense. The Krell were in disarray but still dangerous. Confused and dying swarms attacked randomly. The strike group had to fight their way through several encounters. Liberty's call had taken serious damage. Sarah Mitchell worked miracles keeping the engines running. Ryan coordinated their defense against pursuing enemies. They lost Guardian when a Krell kamikaze ship crashed into her, destroying both vessels. But they made it. 3 days after the attack on the hive, the surviving ships of the strike group limped back to Allied lines. They had lost Shadowrunner and Guardian. Falcon was barely holding together. Over 2,000 people had died in the mission, but they had succeeded. The Krell hive mind was broken. The war was effectively over. When Liberty's call docked at the fleet's forward base, Daniel was the last to leave his ship. He stood on the bridge for a long moment thinking about Nicole. She had been so young and so brave. She had given everything for people she barely knew. Zaylen met him at the airlock. The two friends embraced without words. Finally, Zaylen spoke. The galaxy owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. You saved us all? Daniel shook his head. Nicole saved us, and all the others who did not come back. We just have to make sure their sacrifice meant something. Throughout the galaxy, Krell forces were shutting down. Without the Queen's guidance, they could not function. Some fought on driven by base instinct, but they were easily defeated. Within weeks, the Krell threat was completely eliminated. The war that had claimed billions of lives, and 3 months after the destruction of the primary Queen, Commander Zaylen stood in the council chambers once again. But this time, the mood was completely different. Instead of fear and desperation, the air buzzed with hope and celebration. Representatives from all 47 member species had gathered to formally end the war and welcome humanity as full members of the Galactic Council. High Counselor Nera's crystalline form glowed with warm light as she addressed the assembly. For 2 years we faced extinction. Entire civilizations stood at the edge of the void. Then humanity emerged from legend and everything changed. She turned toward the human delegation. Admiral Kevin Turner stood tall in his dress uniform. Beside him were Admiral Lisa Grant, Dr. Peter Collins, and Captain Daniel Hayes. There was an empty space where Captain Nicole Bennett should have been standing. Everyone in the chamber noticed it. Humanity lost over 4,000 personnel in this war, Nera continued. You shared your technology freely. You asked for nothing in return. You fought not for conquest or glory, but because you believed it was right. The Council recognizes your sacrifice and your courage. Counselor Thex stepped forward. The old warrior's scales had lost some of their color during the war. He looked tired, but his eyes were clear and honest. I doubted you, he said directly to Kevin. I questioned your commitment. I believed you would fail. I was wrong about everything. Humanity has proven itself worthy not just of membership, but of leadership. The chamber resonated with agreement from every species present. Kevin stepped forward to speak. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we accept the Council's recognition. But we do not want to be called heroes or saviors. We did what any good people should do. We stood against evil. We protected those who could not protect themselves. Daniel added his own words. For centuries, humanity hid from the galaxy. We were afraid of what we might become out here among the stars, afraid our violent history would make us unwelcome. But this war taught us something crucial. Every species has darkness in its past. What matters is what we choose to do now, in this moment. Do we hide from our fears or do we face them together? Admiral Lisa Grant continued the presentation. Earth is opening its borders to all council members. We are sharing everything we have learned. Our technology, our knowledge, our culture. We have been alone too long. It is time for humanity to take its proper place in the galactic community. Over the following weeks, transformation came swiftly. Human ships joined council patrol fleets across the galaxy. Earth's scientists worked, alongside researchers from dozens of species, solving problems that had seemed impossible just months earlier. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges began. Students from alien worlds came to Earth to study, while human students traveled to distant planets to learn. Captain Daniel Hayes was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Joint Defense Fleet. This force included ships from every council species, all working together under unified command. The lessons learned fighting the Krell would ensure the galaxy was never caught unprepared again. But for Daniel, the promotion meant less than something else that happened. He was walking through the corridors of Earth's orbital command station when he saw a familiar figure. Nicole Bennett's younger sister Sarah had joined the Navy. She wore the same uniform her sister had died in. "Sarah," Daniel said gently, "I did not know you had enlisted." Sarah stood at attention, but her eyes were red. "My sister gave everything for people she never met. I want to honor her memory. I want to be like her." Daniel felt his throat tighten. "Your sister was one of the bravest people I ever knew. But Sarah, you do not have to be like her. You just have to be yourself. That is enough." "Did she suffer?" Sarah asked quietly. "At the end?" Daniel thought carefully before answering. He had reviewed Shadowrunner's final transmissions many times. No. She was focused on the mission. She was calm. And she was thinking about your family. Her last words were about how it was worth it. How saving all those lives made everything worthwhile. Sarah wiped her eyes. "That sounds like Nicole, always thinking about others before herself." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Daniel said, "The council is building a memorial for everyone who died in the war. Your sister's name will be there. She will be remembered." "Good," Sarah said. "She deserves to be remembered." The memorial was completed 6 months after the war ended. It stood on a moon orbiting the council capital world. A massive wall made of crystal contained the names of every person from every species who had died fighting the Krell. Over 2 billion names covered that wall. Nicole Bennett's name was there among the humans. But she was not alone. Thousands of other humans had died in the war, and billions of aliens had died defending their homes. They were all remembered together as equals. Silent attended the dedication ceremony with Daniel. They stood before the wall looking at the names. So many names. Too many. "Do you think it was worth it?" Zelen asked quietly. "All these deaths?" Daniel was silent for a long time. "I think about that question every day. All those people who will never see their families again, never achieve their dreams, never grow old. Was our victory worth their sacrifice?" He turned to look at Zalen. "But then I think about the alternative. If we had not fought, the Krell would have killed everyone. Every name on this wall saved 100 others who are still alive, still laughing and loving and living. So yes, it was worth it. But that does not make it hurt any less." Zalen clicked his mandibles in agreement. "The young ones tell new stories about humans now, no longer myths but history. They say humans are the species that never gives up, that always keeps fighting no matter how bad things get." "That is not entirely accurate," Daniel said with a slight smile. "Humans give up all the time. We fail. We make mistakes. We get scared and want to run away. What makes us different is that we keep trying anyway. We fail and then we get up and try again. Back on Earth, life continued to change rapidly. Admiral Kevin Turner commanded the Defense Forces but spent most of his time on diplomatic work. Building relationships with alien species required patience and understanding. There were cultural misunderstandings, arguments over trade, disagreements about territorial rights. But they worked through each problem together. Dr. Peter Collins led a joint research team studying Krell biology. Understanding how the hive mind had worked might help prevent similar threats in the future. His team included scientists from 12 different species. They argued constantly, but their work was brilliant. Admiral Lisa Grant established the first multi-species military academy on Earth. Young officers from across the galaxy came to train together. They learned not just tactics and strategy, but how to work with beings completely different from themselves. Amy Rodriguez, the fighter pilot who had survived the final battle, became one of the instructors. She taught flying and told stories about Nicole Bennett to every class. Counselor Thex visited Earth personally. He walked through the streets of human cities and met ordinary people. He saw children playing, families eating together, artists creating beautiful things. It reminded him that protecting peace was more important than preparing for war. "Your people are remarkable," Thex told Kevin during a private dinner. "Not because you are great warriors, though you are, but because you understand what is worth fighting for. You fight to protect life, not to glorify death." Kevin raised his glass. "That is the highest compliment you could give us, counselor. War is sometimes necessary, but it should never be desired." We learned that lesson through terrible experience. 2 years after the war ended, Zaylan was offered the position of Earth's permanent ambassador to the Galactic Council. He accepted immediately. He had come to love humanity and wanted to help build bridges between humans and other species. He stood on the observation deck of a station orbiting Earth, watching the planet rotate below. Daniel joined him with 2 glasses of whiskey, a human drink that Zaylan had learned to appreciate. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had not followed up on that first transmission?" Daniel asked. Zaylan accepted the glass. "Every day. If I had dismissed it as a hoax or a trap, humanity might never have revealed itself. The Krell would have won. Everyone would have died. But you did not dismiss it," Daniel said. "You were curious enough to investigate, brave enough to meet us, wise enough to bring us before the council. You saved the galaxy just as much as we did." They drank in comfortable silence. Below them, Earth continued its eternal rotation. City lights sparkled like stars. Orbital platforms hummed with activity. Ships came and went carrying people and cargo between worlds. "What do your people think of us now?" Daniel asked. "Are we still the warriors from legend?" Zaylan considered the question. "The legends have changed. We tell different stories now. Yes, we talk about your courage in battle, your determination and skill, but we also talk about your compassion, your willingness to sacrifice for strangers, your belief that all life has value." He turned to look at his friend. "The new legend is that humans are the species that cares, that will cross the galaxy to help someone in need, that will give everything to protect the innocent. I think that is a better legend than just being good at fighting." Daniel smiled. "I like that legend better too. On Sanctum,